Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with Dutyron and Ed Wallace. We are both retired New York City police detectives with 20 plus years in the law enforcement industry. And if you like all things true crime related from a police perspective, please consider hitting the subscribe button and hitting that notification bell so you get all things Dutyron and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Summer Wells case. A lot of large-scale police activity along with the TBI and perhaps maybe the FBI. We don't know, but there was tons and tons of law enforcement down on Ben Hill Road in that area, Beech Creek community. Hawkins County Sheriff, there was all kinds of stuff going on. Ed, how's it going? How are you, brother?
Good evening, Ron. Good evening, folks. Happy to be here.
Yeah, Ed, we took a couple of days off, a well-deserved couple of days off Thanksgiving weekend. I know everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We are glad to be back, boots on the ground running. Ed and I are always checking for new things and new developments. This is something that was concerning today because we always like to see any type of extra activity when it comes to the search for 5-year-old Summer Wells. We know she went missing out of her home June 15th of 2021 under very suspicious circumstances. And we all want answers. We all just want to find Summer Wells, and people want answers. So we have Dave Rader, the director of EquuSearch Midwest. We also have Twila Cisco standing by. I believe she's going to be coming in shortly. And we have Jean from RP Search to talk about the drone and aerial searches today. Dave Rader is going to talk about EquuSearch and how they do their ground searches. And we also have special guest Brian, the director of, I always get this wrong, Oklahoma OKSARC and Rescue. And he's going to correct me. He's going to come on and go, Ron, you up. You messed that up. But a special thank you. Ed and I want to thank the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all the folks who positively interact in all of these live streams, in the comment section, and even in the live chat. You guys are all so awesome, and we appreciate you. As you know, Ed takes out a lot of the time of his busy day to answer some of the comments. He is really, really great with that. I'm right on top of it too. So both of us are engaging with you guys, and we greatly appreciate it. Patty, the young thing, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. But before we get into our guests, I want to show a couple of pieces of media just to set it up for our folks who might be outside the country or maybe haven't seen it. So it's 3 videos. They're very short. I'm going to play them. So just grin and bear this for just a little bit. So this way we can set it up for you guys and you could see what's going on from over in Hawkins County. Let me just get rid of this. Stand by. Dutyron with technology. You know how I get down, Ed. So here we go.
News Channel 11.
We have breaking news at noon. Investigators back in the Beech Creek community of Hawkins County to resume on-ground search efforts for Summer Wells. Family members say the missing 5-year-old was last seen June 15th at their home on Ben Hill Road. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation statewide Amber Alert remains active this afternoon. News Channel 11's Bianca Murray joins us live from Beech Creek area of Hawkins County. Bianca, the original command center was demobilized in late June. Why has law enforcement returned to the area now?
Well, Casey, several law enforcement agencies are back here in Beech Creek, but this time it's for what they call a planned search. Now, we're told search crews are taking advantage of the colder weather to focus on overgrown areas that were previously a little bit more difficult to access due to high grass and heavy foliage. This morning, I saw TBI agents, Hawkins County Sheriff's deputies, Kingsport Police, Churchill, and Hawkins County Rescue Squad out here. From what we were able to see today, crews are searching both the ground and they took to the skies with a drone in the search for Summer. And the TBI did emphasize today that there have been no new developments in this case, but this was just the next step in the investigation. Live in Beech Creek, Bianca Murray, News Channel 11.
Bianca, thank you very much. The TBI is asking for credible tips to help find Summer. Just call 1-800-TBI-FIND or email tips to tbi@tn.gov.
So that was the first piece of media. Ed, I just wanted to let you know, I was in communication with Trevor Lee. That's the college student who started the initial $2,000 donation that he made for the Summer Wells reward money. I got on the phone with him and texted him real quick, and he called me right back. And basically he said, listen, Dutyron, I'm local here, so I'm going to be keeping track, regardless of what you asked me to do. I'm keeping track of this because he's been on this case. This is near and dear to his heart. And Trevor has been communicating with me. The temporary headquarters vehicle is still there from the TBI, which indicates to both of us that they'll be back at it again tomorrow. So he confirmed that with me tonight. He did a drive-by, and the temporary headquarters vehicle is still on the scene. I'm going to play the second video, Ed, and then we'll get back into conversation, and we'll bring our guests on.
Roger that.
To search efforts.
Yeah, for the first
More than 5 months after an Amber Alert was issued for Hawkins County 5-year-old Summer Wells, teams were back in the Beech Creek community to resume their search efforts.
Yeah, for the first time in months, TBI agents led a large-scale search on the ground and by air in the rural area around Summer's home. Summer was reported missing by her family the evening of June 15th. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issued an Amber Alert the next day, and it remains active tonight. Emergency personnel from at least 6 states spent weeks scouring that area around the family home with no sign of the girl. Well, today they were back. Months later, dozens of members of search teams returned to the Beech Creek community. The TBI posted these pictures you're seeing here on Twitter earlier today, showing that large-scale search with crews walking and flying above the area.
Bianca Murray joins us now live from the Beech Creek community tonight with more on why TBI and other law enforcement agencies were back in that area today. Bianca?
Well, Josh and Sarah, law enforcement tell us they actually planned to return to the search grounds when they were here last, just to see if they had missed anything in the thick vegetation. Crews from about a dozen agencies returned to Beech Creek to launch their second full-scale official search of the area immediately surrounding the Wells home on Ben Hill Road.
We want to wait till this time of year after the frost and that the leaves are off the trees, we can see better and do a more detailed search, hopefully to find some kind of evidence that would help us find Summer.
Local, state, and federal resources were again utilized in today's search. Sheriff Lawson saying they used aircraft, drones, search dogs, and ground crews to search every area that they may have missed something when the vegetation was too thick in the summer. I'm told the TBI has received roughly 1,500 tips in the search for Summer. Authorities ask anyone in the Beech Creek area to continue to search their properties and to go over trail camera footage in case any evidence of Summer's whereabouts surfaces. Now, crews are wrapping up their search for the day as the sun sets. We're not sure if they are going to return tomorrow. Live in Beech Creek, Bianca Murray, News Channel 11.
Bianca, thanks. And that Amber Alert for 5-year-old Summer Wells remains active. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation continues to ask for any credible tips to be phoned in at 1-800-TBI-FIND or email them to tipstotbi@tn.gov.
So there you have it, folks. I want to play more of this media for you guys, but we have so many great guests. There's confirmation that the FBI was involved. Ed, you and I spoke about this on the last one. State, federal, and local are involved in this investigation. Quickly, before we bring on the guests, we talked about the initial investigation out at the house. The forensics, the evidence collection, it had to be pristine to maintain integrity in this case. Do you want to just talk just a little bit about the importance of gathering up the evidence in the home where the alleged child went missing?
Well, okay, so we don't know the circumstances behind the disappearance. So if there was a warrant issued, I'd be looking for blood to show signs of an attack. I'd be pulling up floorboards. I'd be pulling out waste traps on bathtubs, sinks, showers, things of that nature.
Sewers,
Sewers. I would be going into the cesspools or the septic systems. I'd be looking at wells. I'd be looking at anything around there. Are there caves? Are there old mines? I'd be looking for all these things. But in the house specifically, I'm going to be looking for some type of serological evidence in the form of blood to see if there was some type of attack or an assault that occurred, whether it was, something that occurred accidentally and then, cover up type situation. Did they try to mop up a crime scene? These are things that I could easily do with my forensic background and go in there with a fine-tooth comb and sweep through that house and search for those types of things to see if there's any signs of foul play. Then we have to go with the story that was given to us by the parent at the time and the grandparent, and then check out the validity of those stories and see if we can do searches associated with what they're telling us and see if we can corroborate anything they're telling us.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Ed. I mean, you touched on such great points there. We could go on for 30 minutes with this, but we have the director of EquuSearch Midwest, the Midwest chapter, Dave Rader. He was kind enough to join us, so I'm going to bring him on real quick. Dave, thank you so much for taking out your time on a Tuesday night. I know it's Mahjong night for you and the boys, so thank you for taking out the time, Dave.
Absolutely a pleasure once again. Good to see you, Ed.
You too, Dave.
And again, it's here we are again. It's that just proves that law enforcement has not given up on this poor little girl, which is a lot of people thought that they're not doing anything, and this just goes to prove that they just because you don't see it doesn't mean that it's not happening behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And you know better than anybody because you have been down there with your crew at least 3 times that we know about, that we could speak about, searching by foot, searching by air, and doing everything possible, humanly possible within the organization, all at no charge to the Hawkins County Sheriff. You and I got on the phone early this morning when this news broke, and basically we didn't know anything that was going on. It's something that tells us that law enforcement are, amongst those 1,500 leads and all of the countless things that Ed just went over, electronic evidence, forensic evidence, interviews, surveillance, if there were any at these different locations that Candace traveled with her daughter. They're putting that all together and doing things. And certain times, because people sent to me, they probably sent it to, a bunch of different people. Hey, is EquuSearch there? What's going on? What's going on? So I immediately got a hold of you, and then we went and I did a live today earlier, and we spoke about it. It doesn't mean that your organization is not, if you get the call, it doesn't mean that you're not going to, at any given moment, of course, you're working several different cases at this point, but at any given moment, if you get that call, I know you will work your magic and have a crew down there ASAP. Isn't that so?
Absolutely. I mean, again, they did contact us. I think that this was in the works for a little bit of time. They wanted to let the leaves drop and give them a little bit better picture of what how deep that they could actually go. Because I'll tell you, when we were down there in June and July, I mean, it was just absolutely brutal as far as on how thick this is. So I kind of understand where they're coming from as far as waiting until now. Right. And again, with the hunters going into the woods, we have to take that into consideration. So I think that there was a few places that was of concern with them that they wanted to bring law enforcement in. And again, we don't know the inner workings. This could, they wanted to wait for the leads, but then they also could have gotten through the investigation some places that they needed to follow up on also.
Right. Additional information. And Ed and I spoke about that many times in the past. This active investigation on any given moment, you can get a piece of information that you roll on, or any given moment, electronic evidence can come back in from Quantico, because we heard the reporter and we knew this firsthand, that the feds, the FBI was involved. So the state, the TBI, are going to go and lean on the crime lab of the FBI, and then it's going to go filter downhill. Hawkins County sheriffs are going to be securing scenes, keeping the media out, helping to guide you and your search crews when you were down there, and just to keep the perimeter and the area secure. We weren't sure 100% during the day about the dogs. You and I spoke, but we get confirmation from WJHL that there were dogs on scene today and searching. So I'm going to bring in Brian and Gene, also Gene Robinson from RP Search. He's our drone specialist. He's a guru when it comes to drones. Gene, the grandfather of drones, is here with us. Thank you. You're muted. Your mic is muted. I don't know if I did that or you did it. Oh, okay, it was me. Sorry, Gene. Gene, welcome. How are you, brother?
I am well, and you, sir?
Yeah, very good. So what was your take on what you saw in the media that I played there, and from a little bit of your looking into it? Because I know you're watching this case closely. Any takeaway from the activity of today?
And, one of the things that I got out of this is, first off, we saw manned aircraft, and they were large manned aircraft. And, of course, again, I was Air Force.
Right.
And I'm used to dealing with large aircraft and what they can carry. When you get to that point, you're talking some significantly more sophisticated sensors.
Right.
And I believe that they're bringing those to bear at this point. I think that, as you mentioned earlier, that they are probably discovering more things as the case develops and they dig more out of it. And quite frankly, I think that it's getting bigger. I think that the case is growing arms and legs, if you will, and it's not just this child. They may be onto something that's bigger, and we know is more pervasive in the United States. And although we like to try to ignore it many times, it's very prevalent, and it's got to be stopped.
Yeah, the only disadvantage that we're all in is that we don't have access to the case file. So, again, Gene, this is speculation on his behalf, but it's pretty good speculation because it is something that's an epidemic across the United States and across the world. Trafficking is humongous. Ed, you got any thoughts on the drone footage? Because I know you are a connoisseur of the drone. You are very, well versed in it. What was your takeaway from that footage that we watched together?
Well, it was just a small amount of footage, and it seemed that the drone was hovering in a specific location. Don't know exactly what they were doing. It just seemed like it had a high-res camera on it, an HD camera. I didn't anything that jumped out at me. But, to go back to what Gene was talking about, with that fixed-wing aircraft and to bring out an asset like that is not cheap. That is quite a costly expense in fuel, manpower, and so forth to put an asset like that into play. And again, we can be talking high-res scans. We can be talking side scanning radar. We can be talking all types of imaging technologies that these fixed-wing aircraft can bring to bear here. And then you couple that with some sophisticated software, and the foliage is down now. So, they might be using some algorithms to search for specific colors associated with bones or specific colors associated with the last known clothing the victim was wearing, or any number of things now that the canopy has been kind of knocked down a little bit.
Yeah. And Gene, do you have any input on what we're looking at here? This looks drone-ish to me.
Yeah, actually, that is part of a grid map. You can look and see that the blue lines are part of the grid. They're running a very high overlap on the imagery that's taken. And as Ed alluded to, we know what a drone will carry, and it's going to be one of several things. It's either going to be RGB, which is your standard color, It's going to be near infrared. I would be surprised at that because we're still trying to pioneer that and trying to get that going. You have FLIR, which is dual, both that they run 2 cameras that run both a matched FLIR with an RGB,
Right.
which they might be able to pull something out of that one. And then you have multispectral and hyperspectral. That is pretty much the purview of what a drone will carry.
What
So
are we looking at here with this round circle? It looks like a target. Is this just part of standard imaging that you would get
yeah,
from?
that's a navigation anomaly that they probably captured on the screen. It's probably nothing significant,
Right.
but you know, the fact that they are running a very tight grid on here, they're probably wanting to produce 3D, or what we call digital surface models of the terrain around the area, so that and I'm quite sure that they're running LiDAR as well.
What is LiDAR?
LiDAR is the ability to essentially strip away the vegetation. It's laser imaging, and it will go all the way down to the forest floor. So they will get a very accurate digital surface model of the area that is scanned.
Wow.
That, again, this is all a part of what the process that they're going to go through as they search this area. And it's not so much that the trees are certainly losing their leaves, of course, but the ability to get a very hyper accurate surface model allows their ground crews to determine what they're going to be up against as they move out into the ground search phase of the search.
And as we could see, this is not a one-day operation. The THV for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is still at the location. I got very good confirmation of that from Trevor Lee. He is a young man who lives in that area. Just before we went live, I asked him, did you go by? And he confirmed with me that, yes, the THV is still there. So that tells us as law enforcement professionals that they are definitely set up there for perhaps a day or two, but this is not something that just you can accomplish in an 8-hour day. What is this fixed wing aircraft potentially? Of course, they're only giving us a look at one of the wings, but this looks like 727. It doesn't look like a 747, but it looks like a regular commercial aircraft.
At the very least, it's probably at least a 727 or 737. That pod out there on the end could potentially be a LiDAR pod. I'm not going to give a whole bunch away, but I can tell you from my military standpoint, there are ways that there are sensors out there that they can use to see things that the human eye can't see.
What about this lettering, the PC-12NG? Is that just
I don't know what that could mean. I have no idea what that is. It could be a designation for the sensor itself. But typically the winglet, you'll see a winglet like this on a Southwest aircraft. It's for efficiency's sake and that sort of thing. But the pod itself, the bulbous nose, it's quite roomy.
Right.
And back in the day, that was a Tase Duo of some sort, some very high-end sensor that would use both EO, IR, multi-LiDAR, that sort of thing. And
Right.
it's very easy to fly. And because it is a very fast aircraft, and because the sensor is very quick, they can cover a significant
amount of ground,
amount of geography very quickly.
Hey, Gene, before I interrupted you about this lettering on the aircraft, you were onto something, and I didn't want to cut you short, but I suck at memory retention, so I wanted to get that out to you. But you were talking about something. If you remember, could you just continue on that, and then move on?
Other than that, there are sensors that are only revealed to us on a need-to-know basis.
Right.
Because I can assure you that our military has some things, and the FBI and the other federal agencies are going to have access to it that they're going to be using in this case. There's no question in my mind.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's encouraging. At the same time, we're all still in the dark on this because we really don't know exactly what's going on. And I don't think that we will know. They cannot expose their cards because then you can risk, tainting the investigation. So,
You don't want to rabbit.
exactly. So I've had waiting patiently on the side Twila and Brian Smith. He is the director, and he's gonna correct me because I suck at this. I always mess up what he's the director of. But I have it. I have it in my branding. Brian, thank you, director of Oklahoma SARS. Right? Did I get that wrong, or did I get that right? I think your mic is muted. There you go.
Oklahoma Search and Rescue Council.
Search and Rescue. So, Brian, thank you for coming in and thank you for joining. Ed, I'm going to add you back and I'm going to add Twila on because Twila, I didn't see her. We have so many guests and I didn't see her. And she just sent me a message. Hey, buddy, I'm here. Hi, Twila. I'm sorry. You were down hidden and I couldn't see you. So thank you for joining. Twila is the search coordinator. I'm going to try to unmute her mic. I think she's got it muted herself. Twila, thank you so much for being here. But Brian, could you just give us a little bit of an overview of what you saw there? I know that you have, a minimal amount of information, but I have an audience here. A lot of folks, 1,400 people are checking out things. I know Ed is running the plane number on that wing. If I know my buddy Ed,
I ran it.
So all right. So Ed, I'm gonna get right to you in a minute. Brian, could you just talk about what we saw with the dogs? Everybody is, I've been trying to get you on. We've been missing each other, but thank you for what you do for all of the missing across the country. You are you're like an angel on earth. So I appreciate everything that you and your search group does. But could you just let the folks know what you saw there down on the ground?
Well, it just looked like somebody had a wide area dog out there working. I mean, there was no audio. She couldn't really hear anything they were saying, but my guess is that is somebody's cadaver dog. I was trying to look to see if I recognized the dog. Most of the time I know the dogs and I forget the names of the people, but it didn't look like anybody that I recognized right off the bat. There's a lot of handlers out there, so like I said, it didn't appear to be law enforcement. That appeared to be an outside agency. They were wearing orange shirts, and the dog had his orange vest on. And most of the time, if it's law enforcement, those dogs are identified as law enforcement canines. They'll have badges on their vests and that kind of thing.
So you think that those were cadaver dogs, or that was a cadaver dog there? Because I mean, really, you're looking for summer wells out in the woods. We're unfortunately, folks, don't crucify the messenger, but technically speaking, by a miracle, we're looking for a girl that could be potentially still alive. But I'm a realist. They're looking for bones at this point, and a cadaver dog is the dog that would do that job. No.
Absolutely. You'd want a cadaver dog trained to a scientific working dog standard, dogs that train and work on bone on a regular basis. But I mean, yeah, it's sad to say, but if Summer is out on those woods, the chances are she's not being raised by a pack of coyotes.
Right.
So, I mean, we have to go with what the statistics tell us, and the statistics say that if she's out there in the woods, she's probably deceased.
Right. Twila, thank you so much for joining. You are still muted. I can't unmute you. I've been trying to, but hey, we've been on the phone back and forth, me, you, and Dave. It's we do this all the time. What was your take on today? You are the search coordinator. You've been there many a time. You've seen. Trouble in paradise there. Thank you, Brian. You've seen that many times, that area, that terrain. You want to talk to the audience about a little bit of the obstacles that you faced in the summertime as opposed to now?
I've seen some pictures from where they were out today, and I can tell you that it does look completely different than it did when we were there in the summertime. In the summer, it was very, very thick. They don't have to worry about the ticks out there today or mosquitoes or anything like that. when we were there in the summer, it was some pretty rough terrain. It was really thick with briars and all that good stuff. But I have seen photos from some of the areas that they were in today, and it's a lot clearer than it was when we were there.
Right. And that helps to be able to cover ground on foot a lot easier without all of those obstacles, right?
Absolutely, it does. It helps big time, and it also helps, the drone. It's a big help when all that foliage is not there,
Right.
because I'll tell you, in the summertime, it's some bad stuff to be going through.
Yeah, and Dave, you spoke to me several times about when you have your folks out there, the injuries that could be obtained, and you had one of your searchers with like umpteen amount of ticks on her or him. Do you want to talk about some of the dangers that your folks face out there?
I mean, again, the terrain is so thick and it's so, you don't know where your next step is taking. I mean, you can't really see. I mean, it's just so the ground coverage is just so bad. So, I mean, there was rocks, there was a lot of holes, a lot of divots that, and again, the vinage would trip you up. And again, this wasn't on flat ground. This was, the incline on this thing was, when I was down there the first time, I literally, as we were paralleling the search line, I literally had to hold on to a tree to keep up with the next one and plan your steps out. So again, as Twila was saying, as far as it's just a lot easier to go through now than it was back 6 months ago, for sure.
And what about the wildlife that you guys were facing while you were there? Again, Twila said she saw a bear. You got coyotes out there? Is there a mountain lion? What are they facing now? I mean, it's hunting season. Some of the dangers that are happening now, as opposed to what went on in the summertime, is it all alleviated? Are a lot of these wildlife, or are they searching for more food when it's colder? I don't know. Is it more dangerous in the wintertime as opposed to the summer, or just about the same?
I think it's dangerous no matter what time of year it is. I'm not sure when bears and stuff like that come out, but I did see one, and it was in the middle of the summer. It was pretty hot outside. And I mean, I've been on searches in Alabama where we've seen rattlesnakes in March. So I feel like it's dangerous at all times. And with it being hunting season, if these areas aren't secure and these hunters don't know that there's people in these areas, it could be very, very dangerous.
I have a question, and this comes in from a lot of the users. The ground that you guys covered, and I know you can't speak about where you searched. We're very good about keeping the integrity of what you did down there. Based on what we saw publicly available here in that search area, is any of that search area look familiar to you, Dave, Jean, or Twila?
It does. All of it looks pretty much real familiar.
Yeah.
I think that they were going back around the house on places that they could not get to search properly back 6 months ago. So I think it was more concentrated around that the house again.
Right. I want to just say quickly, I'm going to go to Ed because I'm curious. I'm dying to know what he found out, if anything. But I want to just say this. Trevor is a local resident. Trevor Lee, great kid. He's many years above his age. He told me that he felt the activity that he saw was in and around the Wells area. It wasn't that they were that far outside searching folks on the ground. Now, that doesn't include our aircraft and our drones, because as Jean will tell you, those drones and the aircraft is going to cover a lot of ground. But the dogs and the boots on the ground and the men and women searching, he said that from what he saw was close by to the Wells compound, or whatever you want to call it, resident. Any thoughts on that? I mean, is this just checking and double checking? And Twila or Dave, you could take that, or maybe Brian, anybody?
I feel like they were probably out there double checking. We did know that they were planning another search, the foliage or whatever. But I do think from what I've been told from inside sources and stuff like that, I do feel like they were over in and around that house in these areas that was very, very thick for us to get in before, because it was very thick. I mean, you couldn't get the canines through there. We couldn't get through there on foot. And I'm telling you, we've been through some really thick stuff and we couldn't get in there. So I really think that's what they were doing, is focusing their attention on the areas that was very thick back then in the summer.
Yeah, I
Brian,
would agree with that as well. Because that's something that we do. If we've got an area, one of the things that we do is we track ourselves. We can look at our tracks and where we went on our maps, on our search grid maps. So we can see, you know, at the end of the search, at the end of the day, we can go back and review those maps and say, okay, here's an area that nobody was able to get to for whatever reason. You know, there's an open hole on your map screen, and like, okay, so we need to go back and focus on that area. And so that's not uncommon at all, to go back and just kind of start over and make sure that you didn't miss anything. And again, statistically speaking, you know, it's not very common for them to, if something just happened randomly, say she was out, she started wandering and she fell and she hurt herself, you know, chances are those things happen close to home. So you're going to always go back to your starting point and work your way out again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that one, Brian. There are some times that you just have to absolutely start from zero again, just to make sure that you didn't miss one small hole, a small cave, or something like that that someone overlooked that may be very close to your starting point. So there are just times that you need to start from zero and begin again.
Yeah, and this is a prime example of dotting the I's and crossing the T's, checking and rechecking. They used to tell us in the police academy, and when I was on patrol, search and research your prisoner. If someone said that person was searched, don't take their word for it. Search it again. And I know Dave and Twila and I have spoken many times, and that's not even proper English. Dutyron, that up. We have spoke. Okay, for all of my language folks who I'm going to get crucified on that one, we spoke many times about the search and research. Dave, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I mean, there's, you know, nothing's ever 100%, you know, and again, before we have this policy that when we send teams out, that with the search, with the team lead, is that we instruct them that when they're finished with that area, you ask everybody, look, does anybody think that we missed anything, or can we move on? If there's one person that sits there and says, look, we don't think that this one area out of our search grid was covered good enough, then they're instructed to go back until it is 100%. But again, we're all about checks and balances, and if we feel that it's a high probable area, again, we'll throw a dog in there, and then we'll go over that dog or with another dog, and then we'll go behind that with ground searchers or whatever. So it's always a good idea to have checks and balances in the field.
And it's methodic what you do, because I've heard and I've seen some of the reports that you submit to these guys, and you know, we've talked about it. I didn't need to see it myself, but I've heard you guys speak about it, and the details and the checks and the rechecks are just over the top, and that's what makes you guys great. So again, if you guys are not ready to get on board and support EquuSearch Midwest, let me go full screen with me, and then I'm going to Ed Wallace, because we got to get an answer on that aircraft. This is a fundraiser I'm doing for EquuSearch Midwest. It's on my website, dutyron.com. You can get the Lost Is Not Alone wristbands, and you can purchase them. 100% of all of the funds go straight to EquuSearch and the great work that they do. I implore each and every one of you to go over and check it out. Ed, what did you get on the aircraft? Your full screen, everyone's watching you.
So the PC-12NG is a radar pod that mounts on the right end, the right wing at the end, and it provides tactical imaging.
Wow. Gene, what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, tactical imaging is probably more resource management than it is anything else as far as a sensor is concerned. So you essentially have a high bird what we would call in a disaster situation where you have overwatch. And then they are probably going to rely heavily on the drones to be able to cover the areas, many of the areas that we've covered while we were there,
Right.
in an entirely different circumstance. Because one of the things that we're doing in our research, and we have been doing for the last 2.5 years now, is to survey areas in different times of the year to see how they present themselves to a drone. I mean, because there really hasn't been that much search done on that.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. They're going to fly the Overwatch. They're going to bring the drones in, and they're going to see how different it looks from the summer. And it's going to be significant.
Yeah. So this is a really sophisticated piece of equipment, and unbeknownst to us, we don't know what they have on board. But I know, Gene, you could probably speculate on that, but we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's an advanced piece of machinery that can detect a lot of different things. And Gene, you talked about your drones and some of the capabilities of being able to see if somebody dug a grave, whether it was from 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 weeks ago. And drones have come such a long way. So the amount of technology, and again, Gene at RP Search Services, I'm going to link his and Dave's stuff and everything with Brian, the Oklahoma Search and Rescue. These guys do an unbelievable job working together. Dave, if you call Brian and say, hey, I need you, what does he say?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, matter of fact, Twila spoke to him a few weeks back about coming in on a search in a different state. So, and Twila had that all taken care of with Brian, ready to rock and roll, and then some other things came up with the investigation of it, and then also with the hunters being in the woods, and we just didn't feel like it was safe at the time to put man or beast out.
Right, but he was ready to go at a moment's notice.
Absolutely.
If need be.
We had rooms reserved and everything.
I called him and he was like, all right.
So I'm going to put Twila on the spot. I'm going to put Twila on the spot right now. So Twila, I'm going to show some footage that may make you blush a little bit, but this is some of her best work on the Summer Wells case. This is older footage, okay? But I want to show this because I feel it's important that everybody sees this. This is the tough work that not just Twila does. She's the search coordinator for EquuSearch Midwest, but her and her team, these are housewives, moms, dads, grandparents. It looks like there's all different ages of men and women that are out here, and they're searching in the middle of the summer for summer wells. So I'm going to highlight this. Twila, don't blush too much, but I have to do it. So I'm sorry. Here we go, guys. Full screen, and this is just 1 minute and 25 seconds.
Start tonight with new information in the search for summer wells. A nonprofit organization that's worked on several other high-profile cases joined the search for her this weekend. Wells has been gone for more than a month. The nonprofit is called EquuSearch. They've worked with authorities to try to find missing girls Natalie Holloway and Kaylee Anthony. The last time they were in Tennessee was to help look for Joe Clyde Daniels. The organization's Midwest division stayed in Hawkins County from yesterday until today. It says crews are using any resources necessary to find her. The director says this includes high-tech drones that can tell if the ground has been dug up and remote control sonar units that can go into water. This can help crews know what's in a pond, for example, without having to send in a diver. Volunteers say for them, it's a moral responsibility.
I know if I had a child, a loved one, anybody I knew friend-wise that went missing, I wouldn't want everybody in the world out looking for them.
We treat each missing person as if they are our family.
Yes.
Or we treat it like we take it very, very close to our hearts. Person as if
I got to go back. I love
looking
this.
for them.
we treat each missing person as if they are our family.
Yes.
Or we treat it like we take it very, very close to our hearts.
Those volunteers say even though they left today, they won't give up. They say they'll keep looking until she's found. And if you have any information
What kind of temperatures were you guys facing there that day, Twila? I'm going to put you on the spot again. What was it like in the middle of the summer there?
It was very hot that day. That was actually early that morning. I'd say probably about 8 a.m. and it was already probably about 90 degrees out there that day. You could see that sun was beaming in there. And when I say we treat each case as if they're our family members, we do. Last night I was on the phone with a wife of a missing man on another case that we are working, and she was crying and I was on the other side of the phone crying with her. And we take them close to our heart and we don't give up. We go in the heat, we go in the rain, we go in the snow, we go in the sleet. We don't give up. We just continue on. We want these people to know that we are here for them and we're not going to give up.
And it's no different from any of the cases that you cover. You know, you guys broke bread with the wells, which you know, a lot of people looked at that and said, "Oh, how could you do that?" But it's an important part. And Dave, I'll let you talk a little bit on this for the listening audience. It doesn't matter what the parents are acting like or what they're doing. Your focus is on one thing and one thing only, and that is bringing the missing home. Lost is not alone. So you and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you do not judge anybody based on their actions. You're there to do a mission.
It's not our job to judge anybody. We're not here to judge anybody. We treat these people as if they're our family, and we cry tears with them. When they're angry, we're angry. We just hug them a little bit tighter, but we're not here to judge anybody. We don't care if there's drugs involved. We don't care if they have all the money in the world or no money at all. We're all human beings and we all deserve some kind of respect because we don't know what happened to Summer. It's all about that missing person. That's all it's about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Dave, you know, again, like I said, you know, you are the director of EquuSearch Midwest. Again, you know, these kind of things, this is what is important, is for you guys to get to the end of the mission, and that mission is to bring the missing home, right? So becoming not, you know, and I'm not saying friends, but becoming where you can have an open conversation with the people that you are trying to bring the missing home to. You got to do what you got to do. And you know what? I tip my cap to you. I got the EquuSearch, the Texas. We got to get a Midwest EquuSearch hat. I think I'm going to have to design that with you, with Josh, because I want a Midwest EquuSearch hat. So we're going to have to work on that, Dave.
Perfect.
But I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat quickly, and all of the guests. Gene is back. I took you off, Gene, because I didn't see you. Stroud, thank you for the $5 super chat. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to try to take a question or two from the chat. So let me say hello to everyone. Let me know where you're watching. And if you're new and the very first time stumbling across Crime Time with Dutyron, say that you're new in the chat and we'll say hello to you folks. Jolene is a great. Hey, I want to just say something. Jolene runs a lot of different Facebook groups, and she runs a really tight Facebook group for Summer Wells and some of the other cases that I cover. And I want to say thank you personally to Jolene for sharing my videos and promoting Crime Time with Dutyron and all of the great guests. She happens to be a huge fan of Brian. I don't know where that relationship is, but she loves Brian. Like, she's one of his biggest fans. So
we've worked a few cases together.
You worked with her on some cases. Okay, so Jolene, I'm tipping your cap, I'm tipping my cap to you, and I thank you for that. Folks checking in from Maryland, Northern California. Hello, Trish Arnold from Wichita, watching from Kansas. Thank you so much for joining. Jennifer Nobles, Bakersfield, California, Orrin and Orson West. And you know, we haven't given up on that case either. Gene, you had some of your associates fly some unbelievable missions out there in Bakersfield. Great job. And I know that if they call you guys back, you'll be right on that again. We haven't not forgotten about Orrin and Orson West, Sincere and Classic. It's coming up on a year that those two boys went missing. And I don't remember in recent past ever hearing about twins going missing. You know, not twins, but two boys. They weren't twins, but to have two brothers, you know, ages 3 and 4 go missing, you don't hear about that often. And I think that they need to be spoken about a lot more. And I think that, we need to get to the bottom of that one too. Teresa, thank you for joining, and thank you for that super sticker. That's always goes to good cause. All of the super chats here, we will be redirecting. So thank you for that. Mary London is from the UK. Free Thinker is from Pennsylvania. Anybody from Tennessee checking in from the area? I'd like to just say hello to anybody. Hello from Texas. Gene will say the great state of Texas, right? Yeah. Thank you, Gene. Thanks. Ed, I wanted to just go to you quick because I don't want to lose your attention. You are a wealth of information here. What are your thoughts on day 2 here? Is it going to be same type of stuff, or are they going to be? There's a lot of area to cover. Can we expect maybe a lot of the same of what we saw today down in Tennessee?
I would imagine so. I mean, you can only cover so much ground in that 8-hour period, whatever, or the 12-hour period. We have less light now that we lost daylight savings. So you got to get up early at the break of dawn, get out there and go through that search as much as you can, have what you've done mapped out, and then now you'll search another portion of the area, or you may do a 90-degree turn and come back and search through the area you searched through yesterday, but this time going in a different direction in the hopes that maybe now you might uncover something.
Yeah, and that's the hopes, is that, again, we talked about, checking and rechecking. So there's so much ground. And Dave, you said it the best the first time I had you on. We were with Tim Miller, the founder of EquuSearch, and you said, we know where she's not.
Correct. Yeah. When you do a search, you got a 50-50 shot. You're either going to find them or you're going to know where the hell they're not, and then you expand that. And I kind of have a feeling that tomorrow, I hope and I pray that they covered what they wanted to today. But I would love to see them expand that just a little bit further out, just to make sure. Like I said, you have to go into your cone. And then once you finish that center point, then you have to sit there and start expanding it a little bit further each time.
Yeah, and Gene, you touched on it really well with the aircraft and the drones. That really opens up the footage, the square footage, the miles that they can cover, as opposed to guys like Brian and Twila with boots on the ground. There's only so much steps. Like Twila said, she did 15,000 steps on her last search. Or 10,000, you could take a drone and do that in 30 minutes or less, probably, right?
Of course. And you want to start at the top and kind of drill your way down to the point where your boots on the ground, where your fine-tuned ground truthing when it comes right down to it. So you start with a manned aircraft very high up. Then you come down to the drone aircraft, and then you can even have another layer of drone aircraft that are even closer to the ground to verify other items that you might see. And then finally, it's going to be your boots on the ground that actually does the final verification, the truthing, if you will, of anything that you find.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it any better than that. I mean, you're the expert on that. And for me, I feel that a combination of the drones and aerial footage and, men and women on the ground, the dogs with Brian and their crew, Twila and her crew, that type of setup is what we're looking at, but from a law enforcement standpoint. Now, Ed and I spoke about this briefly, but Ed, I want to talk just a bit about it with EquuSearch being here with us tonight. What are some of the reasons why a small town sheriff's department like Hawkins County. Now, they are not the lead on this case. TBI is, and probably FBI. They're both taking the lead on it. What's the advantage of them not calling in a search group like EquuSearch to do free searching? It costs them overtime. It costs them manpower. We watched them fight with the city council and budget people on the Summer Wells search early on. We saw the sheriff, Ronnie Lawson, and Tim Coop go before a town board meeting and had an answer to how they were going to pay the overtime. So my thing is I scratched my head, and this is just me free thinking, like, hey, why wouldn't they say, hey, we got these guys, let's utilize them? What is some of the thinking the thought process with law enforcement on keeping it in-house. I know you could speak on that.
Well, I know they want to hold the investigation close to their vest, but honestly, I don't agree with it. If you have an asset like that, and the more trained people that can conduct a search, and so long as you can work with them and be a part of their operations, and I know for sure that EquuSearch will work with them, and they'll come to common agreement on what's going to be done, who's going to be in charge, what directions are they going to follow, and so forth and so on, that you would use that asset. I just can't see not using it. The more people you have out there, the more areas you can search. But then again, you want to be able to control it. You don't want the evidence tampered with. If they find something, you have to make sure that the things are all done correctly. And I know EquuSearch has a great track record for this, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. I don't know. I'm a little miffed by why they wouldn't reach out and say, hey, we could use your help. And then they commingle. You embed your people with their people, and you work together.
Right. And I want to expand on that before I chime in with Dave. And I'm going to my notes, and these are old notes. I want to just refer to my notes from July of 2021. 1,860 plus searches EquuSearch has been involved in 42 states and Aruba, Sri Lanka, Mexico, Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, and Nicaragua. They were on the Natalie Holloway search in Aruba. They have searched, and not once have they interfered or messed up any crime scene recovery. They've never compromised evidence, ever. They've recovered 400 missing people across the United States safely, and they recovered over 238 sets of remains of missing persons. That is unbelievable. I mean, so they have a track record that is stellar. And I'm getting a little loud, so let me just hold on. Let me slow myself down.
Step away from the microphone.
Let me just take my hands off the button. Hold on a second. I'm getting a little hot.
Oh, shots fired, Central. Shots fired.
But in all seriousness, folks, and Dave, again, you're a professional. At no point in time, this is just me and Ed speaking as law enforcement professionals. You said to me, and Twila said to me both on the phone, if we get the call, we are going. We will be there. And that's the difference between somebody that is running a rinky-dink operation and I hate to say it, somebody like EquuSearch here. You guys are professionals. Any thoughts, Dave?
The thing is that before we go into a search or we're dealing with any kind of law enforcement agent, we have a game plan going into this that includes them. So let's say that if they don't want to use, they don't want to put, because of manpower and because of the overtime and funding and things, we always sit there and say, look, you don't have to babysit us, but we do need to have somebody that we can contact. So if we do find a piece of evidence, or if we do find that individual, then we're not going to go through the 911 system, because then that just creates a whole nother ballgame. We go directly to that detective that's going to be on duty that morning. Then if we do find him, we contact him personally. We have a uniformed officer or that detective come out, secure the scene, we back out, and then they sit there and take over the scene. So we do have, and again, the last time that we were there when Gene was brought in, we literally sat there all day, not only with the ground searchers and also with Gene. The detective from Hawkins County was with us the whole entire day. So if anything was to be found on either the search for, with the ground or from the air, we had that officer there. And we also, because we were in several different counties, surrounding areas, that they were also put on alert that we were going to be there. So we do have a game plan going in with law enforcement even before we put one single foot on the ground.
Yeah, and that's an important part for everyone to understand is, a lot of people say, oh, well, just the family calls EquuSearch and they just could go running. And that's not how it works. You need law enforcement's blessing before anything. And it always helps to have the family. Brian, I just wanted for you to talk on approximately how many searches, and I know you probably don't have the direct number, but I know you've conducted hundreds, maybe perhaps even more searches locally there in Oklahoma and outside of your area. You want to talk about how long you've been at it? I want the audience to know what you do and what services you provide for the missing.
Sure. I mean, just like Dave and Twila, we do the same things. If a family contacts us and asks for assistance, we're gonna help that family. But before we put anybody in the ground, on the ground, or in any search areas, we always reach out to the law enforcement agent that has jurisdiction over that case. We make sure that we let them know where we're going to be searching and when. And a contact person just like them, we always want to make sure that we have a direct contact with the agency, so that if we find something, we can call that person directly and they can dispatch their resources to come out to the scene, secure the article, secure the scene, whatever the case is, so that we're handing it over to them right away. And you were talking about why an agency.
I can't even get rid of it. I think
Brian's earbuds just finally died. The battery ran.
I think they were in his own ears or something.
I'm trying to keep it out of the studio and it's not even working. Finally had to kick him out of the studio. My God. Twila. It was Twila that whole time. I removed Twila. It was her. Twila. It's Twila. Hold on. It is Twila.
No, it's not.
You were making that noise.
It was Brian, not me. I'm laughing because it's not me.
I removed Brian and it was still there. I think it was Ed. You're the lead. I'm gonna remove her. I just got rid of her and it stopped. It's Twila. She gets kicked. I kicked her out. I just kicked her just now. All right. Listen, this was a great stream up until that point, and I don't know what's happening. Hold on a second. Hold on. Stand by. Is it me? Is it you? Everybody's muted. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening, but I'm going to take over. We had a little snafu. That is very odd. It started with Brian, but I don't know if it was him. I don't know if it was his earbuds went, but it seems to be okay right now. We're stable. So I'm gonna try. Yeah, poltergeist. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Yeah, take it.
My goodness. All right, let's see what happens. I'm going to try to add everybody back. Whew. Hold on. Brian's back. Where's Ed?
It's Ed. It's Ed.
Is it Ed? No. 1, 2, 3. It ain't Ed. It can't be Ed. Anyways, let's end this thing on a high note. Listen, guys, go over to Dutyron.com. Support these great people. Support Twila, Dave. Yeah, it was Ed. He removed himself. It was him. Ed, it's you. Ed's like, no, it's not. It's not me. All right. So this live stream has been hijacked at the end. I'll have to edit it out. But go over to Dutyron.com where you can support EquuSearch Midwest. You can support Gene, RP Search Services, Brian, the director of OK, that's Oklahoma, Search and Rescue. No.
Council.
I I always mess up that council part. Support these great people. They're there searching for the missing. I'm afraid to add Twila back, but as a gentleman, I have to do it. I got to add her back because I can't end this.
It was not me. I'm telling you.
It was you. It was you.
It was Twila. It was Twila.
It was not me.
People
Ron put Twila in timeout.
Yeah, we were trying to sabotage Ed. Like everyone was like, pile on Ed. First it was Brian, and then it was I don't know what the hell happened, but that was funny. And I know we lost a lot of people. 200 people tuned out to that noise. For the folks who stayed here, there's over 1,500 people watching. I greatly appreciate you guys. This is all about Summer Wells. Let's hope and pray that the FBI, the TBI, and Hawkins County find Summer Wells, bring her home, let her have the proper, if it's remains, burial, if she's found by a miracle alive, she's not going home to her family. She's going to be going somewhere where she's safe. The Wells do not have any of their children at this point. And if someone was recovered in a miraculous miracle, she would not be going home to them. She would be going into foster care. So let's again say a quick prayer and a thank you for Dave Rader and EquuSearch, Gene and Brian, Twila, and Ed. Much appreciated. I want to say thank you to the audience. I want to thank you. Everyone's crying. People, I'm looking at the chat and everyone's like, oh my God, that was epic because that never happened to me ever. That was the first time ever. And that static in my ear, I know Ed had it in stereo. Oh my God. Yeah, you're pointing to Ed? Are you pointing to Ed? Dave is giving up Ed. All right, by a show of hands in the chat, who thinks was the originator of that noise? Number one, if you think it's me. Number two, if it's Ed. 3, if it's Dave. 4, if it's Twila. 5, if it's Brian. And 6, if it's Gene. Let's take a poll and let's see who it is. We'll go right through the Hollywood squares here. 1 for me, 2 for Ed, 3 for Dave. 4 for Twila, 5 for
Hey, I'll fall on the sword. Josh says it's me. So
hold on, I'm looking at the private chat. There's 14 messages. Explained in detail what we're doing. Oh wait, okay. Ed, it's Ed. Josh says it's Ed.
That's what he says.
Please rejoin and unplug your USB.
Actually, it was probably Gene because he's the one that's had all that static beside of his head all night on the video.
I know, I saw that. I was
his
like,
brain's working outside of his head.
He's got spirits in his house.
I want to tell you what it was Gene had his window open, and that was a bunch of flies and bugs inside his room.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you so much.
His brain was outside of his head working overtime.
Gene, did you try to turn on your green screen? Was that it? You tried to turn on the green screen?
As you can see, you get my office. I mean, this is my office. That's what you see is what you get.
All right.
You got the poltergeist.
So okay, I'm going to say it was number 2, and we're going to play this sound bite.
Oh hell no!
Wow. Okay. Ed, any final thoughts?
You got to give me a better mic.
I sent you a brand new mic.
Well, it's not working.
Everything that I send you doesn't work. I don't understand it. All right.
It's an operator malfunction.
All right.
Yeah, the problem seems to be somewhere between the chair and the computer.
Well, guess what?
Sharp keyboard in the ground. Yeah, that's
Christmas is coming. Poor Brian. Brian took
it's
the
all those buttons you're using over there. Hit one of those buttons again. It's gotta be something.
All right. So Voices of Hope says go to Costco. Holidays is asking, will you be live tomorrow? There's no rest for the weary here. Ed Wallace, he knows that I gave him a microphone that was sealed and in a in the box. So maybe we can send that back to Blue and get a new one. I don't know. Love and respect from my house to yours. I want to say a special thank you to everybody who positively interacted here tonight. You guys have been great. It's all about Summer Wells, and we got a little crazy at the end here because of some technical difficulties, but that just goes to show you it's a live show. This is not recorded. This is not pre-recorded. This is not edited. It is what it is, guys. And, sometimes we have little snafus like this, but if we're not bringing you a live show, you're going to get something that's spliced together and edited. I like the live show. And when you have these things, this is what happens. Dave, thank you for taking out the time. Twila, Gene, and Brian, I got to get out of here because I'm freaking out with all the noises that are going on myself. So thank you so much. Mama She 13 sends in a $19 super chat. She says, oh my God, I missed Hottie Dave. I knew there was going to be one of those.
Dave and his fangirls.
You can't get around it. The golden locks always gets the girls. Dave.
It's that Hulk Hogan look he's got going.
First to deploy, throwing another $5 at us. Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate that. The Papa Smurf OG says outstanding stream as usual. Princess Michelle says, Ed, get the Best Buy right away. Listen,
You got to get the Geek Squad.
we need the Geek Squad. We're going to keep Josh on overtime. He's going to have to fix that tonight. Guys, thank you so much for joining, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of Summer Wells and move forward onto our next case. There's Maya Miliete. There's our boys out in California. There's countless numbers of cases that these guys are all working on. And as I like to end all of these live streams, God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat and all victims of crime and their family. Good night from New York and a whole bunch of other different places. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Oklahoma, Texas, Tennessee, Alabama. You never know where Twila is. She's a traveling woman. And Ohio. Dave is in Ohio. We'll see
Rocky
you guys.
Top.
Thanks, guys. Good night, Ed.
Bye.